if I ask you a question really quick? Do you feel like the world is getting better or worse?
Oh, that's a tricky one.
I don't think I will join.
Excuse me, guys. Do you mind if I ask you one question really quickly? Do you feel like the world is getting better or worse?
Better? I don't know what you're asking. I'm not familiar.
I don't think I can answer that one.
Okay,
It's
no worries.
too difficult.
Excuse me. Do you mind if I ask you a question? Do you ever feel like you're being watched?
No.
Better or worse?
It's
a difficult question.
It's a difficult question.
I don't know. Let's see how America's doing with Trump.
Thank you. Do you feel like the world is getting better or worse?
If I feel like the world is getting better or worse?
Yeah.
Worse. Reasons.
A lot of reasons.
Yeah.
Well, like?
It's a long talk. The environment and Trump, that is probably one of the worst things right now.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.
Do you feel like the world is getting better or worse?
Hey, 6 months.
6 months.
Trump's still there in 6 months.
Do you feel like the world is getting better or worse? Do you ever feel like you're being watched?
What? Oh yes, indeed, actually.
You do?
Yeah. Well, I don't feel like I'm being watched, but I probably am.
I feel like I am, but then I look behind me and I don't. And I feel like, yes, I do.
Do you think the world is getting better or getting worse?
Worse.
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 Worse by the hour.
I think it's getting better.
I don't think in terms of surveillance it's getting better, but like overall I think getting more and more resources and that way we get better.
I don't think so. I think we're destroying more and more, then we get more and more screwed up in our brains that we all can't play. It's just like everything is getting more and more sick for every day that we by.
I feel like if you look at it on a on a money perspective, I think like everybody gets more and more money, even in like China, and Indonesia, and Africa. And maybe you don't think so.
We use more and more slave labor.
What about the Bangladesh children?
I don't think we use more and more slave labor.
No,
I think
a hooker in Bangladesh is like 1.60.
the statistics I have seen suggest that even in China, the middle class gets a bigger and bigger percentage of the population.
But
and like in India, it gets a bigger percentage of the population.
But that comes as a cost of bigger exploitation of the African people.
I don't know about that, but it's like it's to me it's like it's hard to argue that it's getting worse, even if the middle class is getting better, for my sake.
Does everything have to depend on how much money people have?
What?
But does everything have to depend on how much money people have? If everyone were in the lower middle class and we lived in a dictatorship, would that be good?
Depends on the dictatorship. Could be good.
No,
But
not if they're in dictatorship, like in the classical sense where they're like evil and shit. But for me, it's all about happiness. The argument that he says, I say the middle class is getting better, so the more percentage of the world is getting to the middle class and the higher class, so therefore the world is getting better. And he says, no, because wealth is not all that, money is not all that matters. Then I say,
I'm saying it comes at a bigger cost of exploitation and slave labor.
Like,
I'm not saying that the middle class doesn't grow.
Like him, I'm not an expert. I haven't done like fucking years of research on this topic. But in terms of like war and shit, similar shit, I believe that like, well, the statistics I have seen suggests
there are more refugees in the world right now than there have ever been.
Sure.
Maybe, but I believe
there
that.
is.
Yeah, okay. That's probably true. But I believe that if you look at it like 2,000 years ago, you didn't get to be refugees. If you have a shitty life, you just fucking died. Today you get to fucking Fjord Chill Life Syria. You pay 50,000 euros to go to Europe.
But
And
isn't that
as
just
a-
more terrible? I think
No,
at
no,
least
no.
you could die immediately instead of going through every. I mean, all of this thing is terrible. They don't have a home to go home to. They can't go here. They can't go anywhere. Where are they supposed to step on this earth?
a- like-
Because there's nowhere they're welcome. They can't even go home because they'll just die.
As a sure we are not as welcome here in Denmark as we used to be.
They're not welcome at all.
We're still welcoming a lot of people, and I believe you should welcome more. But you know,
We got a
you know.
problem. The world is worse.
as a like,
The world is getting worse by the
closed.
hour.
Case closed.
if the happiness is high, the society is good.
What about the
But-
animals, guys? It's not just about the humans. What about the rainforest and stuff? It's not all about money. It's about the rest of the world as well. It's about the world just going
Like
down.
I'm not saying it's all about
Slowly.
money. I'm just saying that
I don't think we actually answered the question. We just debated on it.
That's good. That's good.
I'm only human, do what I can. I'm just a man, do what I can. I pray, I pray, I pray. That's what I need.
Well, I do understand why people say it's good here, because it's very convenient. Copenhagen is small, you can cycle everywhere. And I think basically it's the freedom that people have to do whatever they want to do with their lives. So you're not sort of stuck in a structure that you don't want. You can choose it yourself pretty much. There's free education and there's a lot of choice. Wow, that's a big question to answer, huh? I don't know if it's getting either or, but I hope that people are getting more conscious of the rest of the world instead of just sort of their own little pocket.
I have this guardian who's taking care of my economy.
What's that?
I'm economically insolvable. What it's called when you can't control your own money.
Oh, right.
But this person taking control of this money for me. I'm sick, as I said, a little bit. So the psychiatric system is also controlling me. There's a lot of this like this in Denmark that the system is controlling the citizen.
Just gotta take medication and things
Yeah, and if I don't, the psychiatrists come running after me, say,
You seem
no,
really happy.
I'm a little bit sick.
You seem really happy.
Thanks. That's because I have a 20-year-old boyfriend. Everybody wants to be perfect here. So the people who are not perfect, they get all the hassle, All the people here want to be working and having children and having a happy family life. And if you're not like that, you're just people hit you in the head with something hard. It's really like this. That's why I say there's a lot of minorities that don't get treated well. I don't mean black people or Muslims or something, but people who are not so much hurt in society, let's say. Just go in there where I live and you'll find a lot of them. Okay, can you finish now?
Yeah, sure.
It's the camera, Bella. It's not the chickens.
Måske skal hun lige over. Vil du herover?
Over på mor.
Kom.
Nej, det gider hun ikke. Okay. Shoot us down.
I'm satisfied with what I have. But I don't know if we're the happiest country in the world. Because if we are, it's because we take a lot of happy pills. Maybe. I don't know why they say we are the happiest people. But I'm okay, happy actually.
I think actually you made it really good by this satisfaction, no? That I think by happy, because we are the most happy country apparently, which I think we would not really agree on, or like there is a lot of people out there I wouldn't see as happy, no? But they are satisfied.
Yeah, maybe we have, but
people have what they need to have, kind of.
Most people have.
I more think about it because, like, don't want to worry, no? But more like, what the fuck went wrong here?
Yeah.
Because that there is all of this inequality, and there is coming more and more violent, and like the poor Mother Earth, like she have a lot of runes and a lot of plasters and like this
just cooties on her, just like
she's like old and sick, and it's been a
and we're not nice to her. We're not nice
no,
to
we
her.
are not nice to her. We are way too clever for ourselves, kind of.
Yeah,
our
maybe
human
not.
race.
Too ego.
Yeah. Look what we can do, and not think.
Look what I
about
have.
The future.
Yeah, see me and see what I have. Biggest, the greatest.
And there is so many of us also, no? And then days just flies. No? Days past.
And then you get older.
And
then you're old.
Suddenly the years just fly. I like right now I'm not working, but luckily I saved some money, so I have like a lot of free time, but then I use it with training, and I have some different projects that I hope to make into reality. I have built this greenhouse up in Christiania where I want to do some aquaponic. So I want to like make vegetable growth and use the nutritions from fish.
Christiania is a little town in the town, and a lot of creative people.
And a lot of creative spaces. So if you want to do radio,
I do radio in Christiania.
Then you do radio.
If you want to do TV, you can do TV.
If you want to play football, we have played football together. If you want to smoke weed, you can smoke weed. And there is quite some people who actually like to smoke weed.
Yeah. It's the place to be if you want to smoke.
This is Kløvermarken. It's like a big football field now, but in the old days, Amager, where I live, it was called the Shit Island, because there, and mostly here, all like the shit from the citizens of Copenhagen was picked up by hose wagons and dragged here. So that this is like nutrient with a lot of like the old days shit. And out here it was like a lot of industry in the old days, 25-30 years ago, and it haven't been allowed using these grounds for living, because the soil, the ground has been so toxic. But now slowly it starts to be big companies can go and build this. This one is new, for an example. So they can go and build these big houses, and it's like the city has been waiting many years for this to happen, because it's really there's a lot of water. The sea is just on the other side. It's really a lot of nature out here. So you can make some really rich apartments out here, but for people who have always used that area for going out in the nature and like see the value in the nature, it's gonna change a lot out here. I think it's sad. And then there is Christiania.
But I don't think the whole system is built, even though it's built by people, and when we look at it how it was before, like we still have a queen in Denmark, and it was like the queen or the king that was like deciding how things or the rules and stuff like that. I wouldn't know because I didn't live back then, but I think it is better now, you know. But I believe that some politicians are okay, but it's not necessarily the politicians that's the problem. It's more the whole how the democracy and how the whole system is built up that make it really far away from the people living in the country. And it's not only in Denmark, it's the same in, there's more similarities to the government around the world, from the Danish government to the American government to the government in Turkey or wherever in the world. They are closer together than they are to their own people, I would say. You can never really agree on anything, like even though like Christiania seems like a great place, which it is way more, how would you say, like drama than people that's tourists and stuff like that don't know, or people that just come to smoke their joint they don't know about. So you have to have kind of a strong mindset to be living in Christiania. But I love it here, you know.
And also I think I really like it because it just breaks the orderness of Denmark. Otherwise it's very sort of orderly here. It's getting a little bit better, but when I moved back 6 years ago after having been for a few years in London, it was too straight, I thought. But and Christiania made a welcome break for that.
It's like an anarcho-Marxist kind of collective that builds all these boats out of recycled material, and we also throw a lot of events. We do like things like bike wars. We build really fucking weird bikes, and a lot of just very bizarre shit. And then some of us live here, like him, the guy paddling. He's also from the city.
I was just being a bit of a chicken because I can't swim.
Right, we're balanced now. Just don't make any sudden movements. I saw it do this.
No, don't crush it.
Push. Let's go.
Was it difficult?
Oh, God.
Hey.
Oh.
You survived.
More to the side.
Yeah, that's probably better.
That looked quite cool, though. As a fucking land.
I think I would say the world is not imperfect at any point of time, so I feel like it's a process, it's unfolding, so in that sense there is also no better or worse. I mean, the picture I have of the world is kind of like, if you compare it to a flower, it's just a flower which is in the unfolding. It doesn't make sense to get frustrated and say like it's not beautiful yet, I have to tear on the leaves and make it bloom faster. I don't think that works, so in that sense it's always there, perfect in the unfolding. As I outlined before, when I have this fear in me somehow, like of binding a person to me. I don't want those women to feel like that this will continue forever, because I'm pretty sure it won't.
It's okay, but it's again this King Christian IV who made this law that every sailor can throw down their anchor 3 meters offshore, and then you can there. So because this is Danish coastlines, it's actually legal what they are doing, but because that the city council is these old, boring, conservative people, then they want us away.
And then after Brighton, then was in London for a bit, and then traveled through Europe a bit, and then was in the the States for a little while, and now I'm here. Just got my residency. It was so nice getting like the welcome pack, and they were like, "Oh yeah, you know, Copenhagen is great because of like the sense of culture and the sense of hyggelig." Chat with people about like what was it that you did on the weekend, and they were like, yeah, we were paintballing and da 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 da. It's like, oh wow, that sounds awesome. And then what were you up to? And it's like, oh, I had this really great party. Like there's definitely a lot of output in terms of like cultural activity or like events. You know, I feel like is disproportionately huge given the population, like the size of the population, and so then that's would then of course feed a lot of like happiness. And then back to then this sort of social or communal sort of sense, which is always then connected then to like some sort of happiness or altruism or you know being part of a larger something or rather than just being like doing your own thing, you know, a bigger movement, you know, like hey, there's a dome out here now.
Worse. Yes, recently worse. My immediate experience of the world is getting worse. I'm British and I'm living in Denmark, so the UK leaving the European Union scares me quite a lot. I don't know if I'm going to be able to stay or if I'm going to be able to stay in the life that I'm living now, and I'm not so optimistic about finding out. I think a lot of it is the security and the safety and the opportunities that you have, and that you can study and do so many other different projects at the same time, or there is funding available if you want to make a floating sauna like the guys are doing here, or it's just more of a kind of, you can kind of do what you want if you figure out a way to get it to work more easily than I could in the UK. I told my girlfriend that I loved him this morning. Yeah.
And how's that going with your girlfriend?
It's really good. There's the pressure of not knowing if we're going to be in the same country, but other than that, everything is kind of, yeah. I have this tendency to apologize all this time, which she seems to find quite offensive, but I find it quite natural.
They will judge us not only by the decision that we made, but by what we made of that decision. They will see that we shaped them a brighter future. They will know that we built them a better Britain. Thank you.
I think that the base level is very different. I mean, in the UK it's over 60 million people, and here it's 5 in the whole country. So it's much easier to roll out these expansive welfare measures which make people feel very secure and safe. So I wouldn't say that I knew if they cared more, but it's a different system to start with, and the things that are prioritized are different, like giving free education to everyone and making sure that they can have it, and is something that's really prioritized here, but obviously that hasn't been in the UK recently.
Does it look like England?
Like that the left fails to relate to the right because it's still like stuck in this heady space and trying to like relate to someone on like a rational sort of sense, you know. And then we've seen time and time again when we're trying to like this wall almost of where it's not necessarily about rationality, it's then about like emotion. What was that movie with oh shit. So the vice president, it's the president guy, George Clooney. George Clooney as president, running for president, and then it's his aide, it's Ides of March. Ides of March. And it's that bit when the guy on the right is like, has lured the main character across. And he's sort of gloating that he's won, because it's like, no, you fucking leftists, you're just always too proud to get down and dirty and in with the muck, you know, and to like fling some shit to get shit done, you know. And that still makes a lot of sense. That strikes me now, because it's like, oh no, we're too irrational to be able to. No, it's like, right? And so, I think that's an interesting sort of like maybe challenge or way or a sort of question mark in terms of how we relate to our fellow man and be radically inclusive, perhaps, or that sort of stuff. How we build utopia.
If you look at the statistics, how many people get beaten, how many people get killed, how many people get, whatever bad things are, raped, whatever. Things are getting better and better and better, both in the Western world, in the third world, and in the world as a general. But a lot of people think that things are getting worse, and I think that's because of the media, because like you see on the front page of the media every day that somebody has gotten beaten, somebody has gotten raped, the immigrants are coming, everything is bad, this is terrible, that is terrible, everything is awful, and the world is going to hell. Because that's what the media chooses to bring. And we are much bigger users of media now than we were 10 years ago or 20 years ago. So if you don't stop and think about it, I can understand why people would kind of think that, Jesus Christ, the world is going to hell. When I look at my Facebook feed or in the newspaper or wherever you get your news from, you can see that, everybody's being raped and everybody's being drugged and everybody's being killed and the Muslims are coming and the Jews are coming as well and everything is awful and it's terrible and it's, before you know it, the Finns are going to invade Denmark. It's awful. But that's not the way it is. So the answer is, I think that the world is definitely getting better, but I think a lot of people aren't, and they're misunderstanding it. One of the things that was prophesied about the internet was that now everybody has their own publishing platform, so everybody can do as they like, and everybody can tell the truth, and people will know the truth because everybody can have a publishing platform, so you can't keep a secret. So the grand thought 20 years ago was that, democracy will work out really well in the age of internet because everybody will be able to have a blog or a Facebook or wherever, and they can always get their opinion out or their facts or whatever. But the internet is a very double-edged sword because now you have all these fake news things.
So nice. Okay, let's go. Have a question. Go ahead. Wherever you want. Go ahead. Okay, a young man. Come on, young guy.
So, you're going to build the wall? What's it going to be made out of?
Oh.
And that shows that that's not how it turned out. And that's really interesting. It's like, how does that happen? How does it happen that you have the internet at your fingertips? You have all the information in the world, and yet here we are struggling with all sorts of news that's obviously fake and people actually believe it. How does that happen? And that's really interesting. Really is sociologically and psychologically really interesting. How does that work? How does that happen? And what I think is that if you look at some of the dystopian writers, you look at Aldous Huxley and George Orwell, they had both dystopian futures, but they were very different. In 1984, George Orwell's novel, it was like we're all being suppressed, and information is being suppressed, and nobody will know anything, and there's only one truth, and there's only one leader, and kind of a fascism kind of thing, and maybe a Hitler kind of thing. Where Aldous Huxley was much more intricate in his novel. This was what's the name of the Aldous Huxley? Brave New World. Yes, in Brave New World, was much more intricate. Where he was much more, and I think he's the one who has the right dystopian vision that we're kind of getting to now with the internet, because he was more like, well, there's all this information, but people can't pick it up because there's too much of it. You have all sorts of information, and as long as people are happy, as long as you give them sex and drugs, they don't care. They have all the information in the world. They won't be able to pick and choose. They won't be able to go on Wikipedia because they're busy fucking and eating, so it doesn't matter. And that leaves an opportunity for the dystopian dictator because the people don't care. And I think that's how Donald Trump came to be. for instance. And I think that's the dystopian vision that the internet has brought with it. I'm still optimist, but I think that's a pretty profound thing that a lot of people misunderstand because they think we're living in a 1984 world, but we're not. We're living in a Brave New World. And that's very different. And it also has implications for how to combat it, how to fight it. Because we're not under one dictator. You can say anything you want, pretty much anywhere in the Western world, and probably a lot of places, pretty much anywhere in the world. You can have a blog and say exactly what you want. You can say, fuck my leader, fuck the guy who's in government, I don't like him. And as long as you don't slander or are sexist or break rules like that, you can do it, it's fine. So it's pretty obvious to me that it's the Aldous Huxley way that kind of won, because we have some pretty bad leaders. We have the rise of the right all across Europe. We have Trump in America. Marine Le Pen might win the national election in France in a few months. And there are a lot of problems. We have the True Finns, we have Pegida, we have all sorts of things all over Europe. And it's not because people don't know. It's not because people don't know what happened to the Jews. It's not because people don't know that Trump is lying. It's because they don't care. It's because they want easy solutions. And we need to do something about that. I don't know what, because it's a really hard question.
People is talking a lot of political these days. That's a good thing.
But I really do think that the world needs love. People need to spread love, think positive, send positive energy.
Yeah, and I think a lot of this energy and love and blah 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 got lost because suddenly it started to be really important to have a lot of
things,
material stuff and money and have more money, because then you are saved and nothing bad will happen to you if you
and you think other people look at you a certain way and
the prestige.
There is healthcare, most of us have a place to live, and we need to have something to care about. And so it's a good thing that it came so that we care about waste, like recycling and food sharing and this.
Yeah, we try.
Yeah, we can go out and clean a little bit of nature and stuff. Like poor countries, they are more worried about actually having a job, putting food on the table, like more basic stuff.
Yeah.
Yes. So maybe this is what
we have time to worry.
Yes.
When was the last time you told somebody you love?
I love you.
This train terminates at Lufthansa, Copenhagen Airport.
It was fun, no?
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, it was a nice conversation we had there. It's kind of nice when someone is sitting asking you questions. You get to talk.
Come back someday. We talk a lot more.
Yeah, you just make some more questions for us.
Happy things.